What's up guys, my name is ESO and welcome to the channel where I show you awesome things in Fallout 4. In this video, I will be showing you how to build your very own ninja robot like this one. I'll also be discussing all the choices you have to do tons of damage with it, and also make it so that you can deal with different types of enemies. In fact, these robots are really versatile. This robot companion is perfectly suited for many types of character builds. It works great with melee and especially mid-range builds. The bot basically tanks for you while you kill everyone. I use the word tanks, but the robot also does a really good job of slaughtering everything too. It also works really well with the stealth build, and I'll get to that later. Now this is kind of a starting guide and is aimed at people who have just started the DLC. So there's nothing special that you need before you follow this video, you can just do it right now. I've left a few useful links in the description though that are also worth checking out. I do hope this video helps you out and I hope you enjoy it and have fun with the results. So if you haven't already, you will need to build a robot workbench. This is obviously part of the Automatron DLC. If you don't know how to start the DLC, check out my Let's Play in the description. So the first thing we need to do is name our robot. This bit is literally integral to the whole build. So what do you want your robot to do? Personally, I want mine to be silent. As silent as the night, brah. Silent as the night, brah. That's the name of my robot. Fantastic. Build over. Goodbye. Only kidding. Now just to quickly mention, this works exactly the same as crafting armor or weapons. There are some perks that you're going to require in order to craft some of the things we talk about in the video. But even if you don't have any of those perks yet and you're quite a low level, that doesn't actually matter. You can still use the lower grade items and then just upgrade them as you get the required perks. So don't worry about that. So I'm going to be starting at the top on the head and then I'm going to be working my way down. We have some different types of head we can use. It starts off with a Protectron head. I recommend you upgrade it to the Assaultron head laser. Basically this allows it to shoot things as well before and at the same time as it's getting into melee combat. So it's going to be always doing damage to people, which is, you just can't go wrong with having a third weapon on your face. So definitely get the Assaultron head laser. And then we can upgrade the armor here, and we can get the head factory hardened armor, which is going to up our defense considerably. As you can see, if I go back to no head armor, it only has 61 armor, 13 energy resistance, and it goes up quite a bit if I select that. So now we're going to go for the torso, the next part of the build. So the Assaultron torso is what we're using here. You can use the RoboBrain torso, but actually it lowers the stats and the carry weight compared to the Assaultron. So, I mean, you'd be stupid not to use the Assaultron torso. And funnily enough, the RoboBrain torso takes even more perks to actually use. There are some other funny options like the Mr. Handy torso, but it doesn't really work out for you if you use that. We can also obviously put some extra armor on this torso, and I've gone for the best option again, so front factory storage armor. You can go for the front factory armor, which takes less materials to make, but you might as well go for the extra storage because it improves it by another 20. And exact same thing with the rear factory storage armor. That extra storage is pretty useful. Now this is where it gets really interesting, and this is where we have a little bit of a discussion in the video. Because there are different mods you can give your robot, and these mods will help with different things throughout the game. So for example, if you're terrible at hacking, then maybe you want the hacking module, or maybe you want to watch my tutorial on hacking. But there are a few different options here I do want to talk about. There are some things where it's like, okay, we could get that and it would help us in the game a little bit, but there are also a lot, the recon sensors aren't going to be very useful because we're not really going to need to track targets unless, you're doing a full-on stealth build, but even then there are better options. So the ones I want to talk about are the ones near the bottom. The stealth field is really good if you want a stealthy game style and you want to sneak up to people and then just run in, get the sneak attack, and then let silent as the night, brah, finish them off. And then we've got the Tesla coils, and this is actually something I've been experimenting with. What this does is deals energy damage to nearby enemies. So we've obviously got two blades, which I'll talk about later, on each arm, and then we've got the energy laser on our face, and then having Tesla coils as well means we have two types of energy weapon damage and two types of physical damage. So this means that the robot can deal with anything, literally anything that it comes up against, it's going to have a super effective damage type in order to do extra damage to it, which is really important, because if you just give it physical damage or just give it energy damage, then you're going to have a hard time dealing with certain types of enemies. So I'm going to suggest, for what I'm doing here, you go with the Tesla Coils. But the stealth field is also a pretty fun choice, and I have tried it and it does make a difference. But then there are a few other things. The regeneration field, which heals nearby human allies outside of combat. Now notice it says outside, which why I think that's more suited for a range type of build and not what we're going for here. Then we've got the resistance field, which increases damage resistance of nearby enemies. That can also be pretty damn useful. For my type of character, it's not. The Tesla Coils are going to be much better, because usually you'll find that yes, this ninja robot tanks the damage for you, so you don't actually need the extra damage resistance. But there's also another thing I want to talk about, and that's the radiation coil, which deals radiation damage to nearby enemies. Again, this seems like another type of damage, but it's only useful to specific types of enemies. So for example, it's not going to be useful versus robots, where at least the Tesla Coils would do some type of damage to them. Okay, so that's done. That's the biggest conversation we're going to have. For the left and right arm, they're exactly the same on my build, and I'll talk about changing them in a second. Well, firstly, we're going to go left arm, and we've got the Assaultron left arm again. You can use the Robo Brain one, but it's not really a good idea. It looks a bit silly and funny. So we've got the Assaultron left arm. That's going to give us best defense. It also has a pretty fast attack rate, so we're going to use that. Really simple. We've got the left arm factory armor, and then for the weapon, this is where it gets interesting, and it depends on your skill. If we go right to the bottom, and there are tons of weapon choices. I was thinking about putting a gun on him, but I found that if you do put a gun on one arm and a close combat arm on the other, he sometimes just sits there and shoots, and then it makes his close combat arm useless. Whereas if you put two close combat arms on him, he rushes into combat and just shreds everything. So, you know, definitely do that. So we've got the Stealth Blade here. This is 100% physical damage, and it does a lot of physical damage as well, as you can see. But there is another choice here, and that is the other best melee option, which is the left-hand shish kebab. And you can obviously put this on the right arm as well. And now what this does is both energy weapon damage and physical damage. So again, it attacks and deals with all enemies. My only comment on this is that we already have the laser face and the Tesla field. So we're already doing energy damage anyway. So we want our close combat attacks to be physical. And then we've got a really good balance. So if you give it the left hand stealth blade and you do the exact same thing I just talked about to the left arm. Now if, you can give one hand a shish kebab and one arm a stealth blade. But I would just go with two stealth blades because that looks awesome and I think is actually more effective in the long run. And we don't have any hand armor because we're using the stealth blade, so just ignore that. Right arm is the exact same as left arm. Now for legs are interesting, and I'm going for the Mr. Handy Thruster. And I'll explain why in a second, but you can also go no thruster armor, but I've gone for thruster factory armor. And that gives it a bit more defense. Now let me just talk about, the physical legs, so protection on legs, and you can give those lots of armor, and it would actually boost the armor rating of the whole robot. And it can also be quite quick if you give it Assaultron legs. But then at the same time, if you give it the thruster, then it doesn't need all that extra protection because you've removed half of its body, so people can't shoot at its legs anymore. And I'm not gonna lie, people have a pretty tough time hitting this guy. So, after a bit of testing, personally, I found that this is better. And also it means it moves faster, it moves over difficult terrain, doesn't get stuck around awkward objects often, so it just works a lot better for the melee type of build. And I mean, come on, a floating ninja is the coolest thing ever. Okay, so now we've got a few customizable options. I've gone for the female voice. You can also go, like the dark bleep voice is pretty awesome. But then I find the female voice is a bit funnier, adds to a bit more banter in the Let's Play, so we're going for the female voice. Sentry voice is also okay. And then paint job, I haven't unlocked any paint jobs on this character yet. And to be honest, The black default paint job is pretty cool for ninjas, so I'm just going to leave it as it is and I'm happy with that. Now you have completed the ultimate ninja robot. Please like the video if it helped you out, it really supports me when you do. I've put a few other useful links in the description that you can use to get the full use out of your robot. You can also subscribe for the new Fallout 4 guides, and IESO will see you, loyal subscriber, in the next Fallout 4 episode. Thanks for watching, hope it helped, and goodbye.